Hey everybody, it's Noah from Button Presser Reviews, coming at you with a nostalgia review, as I probably call it. This isn't necessarily a review to talk about something new, but if you are still in the market for a GameCube controller, I'd like to talk about those for a second, because we're talking, of course, about a Nintendo GameCube, as you can see, perfectly labeled on the controller. They're still relevant. They are a timeless controller, and there's a lot of modern use cases for them. I'll start off talking about the appearance, shape, and feel of this thing. The appearance is just stellar, in my opinion. I mean, of course, these are all my opinions, but the colorway that I have right now is an orange, kind of like a light orange with like a tinge of yellow, kind of like a creamsicle almost. I can't remember what the official color is for it. If I feel that it's necessary, I'll put it in the description. I'm sure I'll probably find it later. The orange is fantastic, and I know some people don't like the C, B, A, and Z colors because it's kind of quote-unquote childish, but I think the colors they chose are relatively subdued and not as bright as they could be, and they don't give it like that toy-like appearance that some kind of like retro handhelds or some of the earlier, like the SNES controller kind of feels a little toy-like, with the four face buttons being, what is it, red, yellow, blue, and green. I kind of think they nailed it with this one. The shape of it is just really, really ergonomic. Like they must have spent so much time iterating this thing. You can see there's kind of this bump back here, and not like a super exaggerated divot back here for your fingers to fall into, but it has this perfect feel. Like, I don't think this thing's gonna fall out of my hands, even if I'm just balancing it with two fingers. It's like perfectly balanced. Your fingers sink into the L and R triggers up here, like your index fingers or pointer fingers, and there's a nice little kind of catch right here for them to sit into. The bump kind of gives it weight and allows your middle fingers to kind of rest under. Your ring and pinky fingers kind of grab the arms perfectly under these little stick out bits. There's just the perfect amount of room for your fingers. Then your thumbs, like you can see my fingers, I can stretch them all the way here, but if you just have a relaxed grip, which is kind of the way that I tend to play, if you just have a relaxed grip, it's not uncomfortable for you to sit your hands back and kind of touch all the buttons that need to be pressed. Button toucher reviews, definitely not going to be the new brand rebrand. So the shape is just ergonomic as all can be, and the feel, I kind of went over that with the ergonomics, but there's kind of like a plastic sheen to it. It's like kind of shiny, as you can probably see in the light. It shines, but it feels very smooth. There's no need for like texture, I don't think, because of the way that it's balanced in your hand. And the texture on the thumbstick and the kind of the naming of the buttons and the texture of those, they do catch your fingers in just the right way. And I'm sure you'll probably notice this thumbstick is really, really worn out. This was not my controller originally, and it was quite worn in this respect only. And I think that actually kind of is a testament to the durability of these things, because this feels like it was well loved and worn in, but not worn out. It just feels like durable. I guess that's another good way to talk about mention. Another good thing to mention in the feel is it's just durable. Like, I'm not going to swing it around by its cord and try and knock things over with it, but if you dropped it, it's not going to break. Next, the D-stick, or directional stick, C-stick, and D-pad down here. These are interesting. I really like the directional stick. I like the C-stick. The D-pad is not great. The directional stick I'll talk about first. So as you can see, it has like this cap with, it's like a bullseye texture, and the bullseye circles are like raised ridges. It is worn down, but when you get one that's used, that tends to happen. It's kind of the first thing to wear on these things. But not talking about my controller in particular, this thing is a 8-way directional stick, kind of like a D-pad, but with 8 directions, not an analog stick with true analog. There's an octagate on here, or an octogate, if you will, octagonal gate. So you can kind of click into each direction with the stick, and it kind of locks in, and you can slide it along the gate to kind of hit the next direction over. I think that's a fantastic design, especially when you're playing, oh man, I don't know, Soul Calibur, for instance. Soul Calibur 2 utilizes this really well. Their directional system in that fighting game is kind of called 8-way run, and this is perfect for it because you can kind of lock in each direction, and you'll feel like you're successfully hitting the direction that you want to be moving in. I don't know if that makes complete sense. I can maybe include some gameplay if I get Soul Calibur running. The D-pad is the next thing I'd like to talk about. This thing is not great. I've used it actually a little bit in WarioWare, because in WarioWare you can use the directional stick, the D-pad, or the C-stick for movement. You can kind of just use it for whatever. WarioWare is very basic in its controls. You can use direction, I think A, and I don't think B is even ever used, if I'm remembering correctly. I'm pretty sure it's direction and A. B for like menus, but the D-pad is mushy. It kind of has this, you can easily wobble it in its kind of casing, and it's so small that I can press my whole thumb over it. So you have to be very precise where you press. I would like to do some gameplay tests with it. I'm not sure what game I should test with it. Maybe show off WarioWare or something with like the classic games. But it's not fantastic. I feel like if I were to try to like hit a Hadouken or a Shoryuken with this thing, I don't think a Shoryuken would even be possible, especially not with my not with my skills. And then the C-stick is, I don't know, is it control stick? I'm not sure why it's called C other than the ABC sort of nomenclature on here. But the C-stick is kind of like also an 8-way gate, but with a stubbier kind of flat top stick. This thing's great. This thing I use for like Super Smash Brothers as the not the smash attacks, but like the regular attacks and like aerials and stuff. I think it's stellar. Sometimes I kind of want to use this more than I want to use the C-stick or the directional stick, because I just like the flat top. It fits your thumb really well. And like I said about the A and B, the C you can kind of feel it on your thumb in a good way. Like, it adds texture, but it doesn't distract you from the fact that you're playing a game. I think that's all to say about these. I would definitely recommend not using the D-pad if you can avoid it. I don't think there's any game that requires you to do so, other than like maybe like, you know, like Smash Brothers. It's taunt. Like, it's not that important. Okay, let's talk about the face buttons. So as you can see, the A is kind of like the center of all the universe over here, and it's kind of the one that's meant to be like the main action button. The B is kind of where your thumb rests when you're not pressing A. It kind of just defaults to B. It's more comfortable than, say, pushing it over to the X. As you can see where my hand is, it's a little not awkward to press, but awkward to hold there. The Y, you slide your finger up from the A, and it feels comfortable, but again, you wouldn't probably hold it like that unless you have very large hands, and then you might need a more relaxed grip. The buttons feel tactile for the time. Like, they're not super mushy. Here, let me hold it up to the microphone. They're really not super mushy. Oops, sorry, I leaned back for a second. They're not super mushy, but they do have that kind of like Nintendo and you know, controllers of the time, like slight kind of membrane mush. But these things are pretty tactile. I think they feel really nice. The X and Y are incredibly tactile, actually. Like, I would say more than A and B, but that might be because of the wear on like a used controller. But overall, I actually really like the layout of how it moves your finger along each button, and they feel very nice to use. Like, I've played so much Smash Brothers with this game, GameCube controller in particular, which is not my original GameCube controller, and like Soul Calibur 2 and it just feels still really, really, really nice. Like I said, worn in, but not worn out. Let's see. The face buttons are just fantastic. The middle buttons and branding, we'll talk about that. This is the start or pause button. It's simple start. Feels good. It's, you know, you're pausing when you press it. The Nintendo GameCube branding, I actually find that to be really pleasant. I don't think it's kind of like overbearing or like out of place. I really like the centered nature and kind of how it's high up on the controller. You can just see it, you know what it is. Other than that, nothing special. It is what it is. The triggers and Z button or Z trigger are really nice. However, I know some people will disagree on the fact that the L and R have long travel. As you can probably see here, there's a lot of travel and mush until you click it. But this can be remedied with a couple of like mods that you can do. I think one was like trimming the stems, filling the stems with paper and trimming the springs, if I remember correctly. And I'm not trying to tell you to mod your controller if you don't know what you're doing. Definitely look it up first. Not that I mind controller modding, just look it up. Don't mess up your controller if you don't know exactly what you're doing, or just, you know, give it a go on a trashy controller, and then if you do it successfully, you do it on your main controller. The R and L have a nice click at the end, but yeah, the travel can be kind of, it's a little much. They feel good, but you have to kind of get used to them. It's definitely a nostalgia thing in my opinion. However, the ergonomics of these things kind of make up for the fact that there's so much travel, because these things are awesome. They feel so good. Like my hands just want to rest in them. And then the Z trigger or Z button is kind of like a third, like extra trigger. It's got this kind of mush to it. Again, it feels almost like a really quick travel and quick switch, but it's got this kind of weird mush to it. I'm not really a big fan of it, but you don't use it as often, and it's like, it's so quick that you're not kind of settling on the feeling. It's got this little dimple here. I never really felt the dimple to be necessary right there. It doesn't feel necessary. It doesn't feel like your finger's gonna slip off if that wasn't there. But yeah, it's okay. The triggers are good, but could be better. The Z could be better. Let's see. The durability, use market, and longevity of these things. I talked a little bit about the durability and longevity already. These things are super durable. You drop it, it's okay. Try not to, you know. But it's built like you're supposed to be using one of these things for a long time. Like you're not supposed to be replacing this thing every 6 months or a year. Obviously the longevity of these things, this is an original Nintendo GameCube controller, and I'm still using it today, and it feels really, really nice. It feels like it's just, you know, it's been tested, but it's proven. The use market for these things can be a little ridiculous, depending on what you're looking for. Like this one I think was $50, which is not bad at all, but obviously it was very well worn in certain aspects. But other than the directional stick, I think that's the only thing that I can really speak to being too worn for what I was paying for it. But I guess if it's not everything like that, then shoot, like $50 is not bad. And then the longevity, yeah, these things have been around. They're still around. You can still buy originals. You can still buy originals that you want to use, like in like Smash Brothers, in the Smash Bros scene, and just, you know, for your own retro gaming. The wire and the jack. The wire is it's long enough to where you can sit back on the couch or something, and it's not going to be too short for anything like that. And if you're at a computer like I am, it's fine. You're fine. The jack is really nice. You can see it's incredibly obvious where you're supposed to put it. There's an arrow. The flat part goes in the top, and you just there. Here, it's a nice, and you can tell it's like it's very obvious that you've inserted it completely. The jack is nice. It never feels like it's gonna fall out, which I think is really nice. And then let's talk about some context and some use cases for the Nintendo GameCube controller. nostalgic cases or like original cases would be GameCube and Wii. With the intended button mappings. I used it for WarioWare, Soul Calibur 2, like Zelda, Ocarina of Time, Master Quest, those sort of things. And honestly, I can speak to playing Zelda Ocarina of Time with this thing. This is a great way to play it. Like, if you don't have the 3DS version, play Master Quest Edition and just, like, play the original that way. It's really nice. WarioWare, this thing, if you know anything about WarioWare, it's like Mario Party on, like, just hyperspeed, and you'll be spinning this thing around and flicking it, but it stands the test of time. These directional sticks are really, really, really durable. And then Soul Calibur 2 I talked about. That's one of my favorite games to play on this thing. It's my favorite fighting game. The 8-way run and the 8-way octagate just work in tandem perfectly. When you're using it for the GameCube and Wii, you don't need an adapter like I showed you. But if you're going to be playing games on a modern system or using it for PC or Switch, you're probably going to need one of these. This is just a Nyko brand one. It's not one that I particularly love or hate. It's a 4-port one. And it has this wire that is just wired in. But basically, you need an adapter for modern use cases. The black is for inputs. The gray is for the rumble motor. Oh yeah, this thing does have rumble. I forgot about that. It has a nice rumble to it, actually. I like the feel of the rumble in this controller. But using it on PC, if you're using it for like Rivals of Aether 2, or if you're playing like Slippy or Dolphin or something, or whatever, then you need to use something called Zadig, or Zadig, Z-A-D-I-G. It's pretty simple. You basically plug in your adapter. Zadig will grab drivers for it, and it will update them so that you can use. It will update the drivers so that this is compatible with your PC without too much trouble, and you can use it in those use cases. Also, most of the time you'll be using the same button mappings for for these things, but you can map them if you're using like an emulator. You can map them differently, or if you're doing like Rivals of Aether 2, there's different mappings for these. Rivals of Aether 2, I actually don't use my GameCube controller because I didn't have an adapter for a while, so I'm more used to a PlayStation controller on that game. But I feel like I would probably do lights, specials, or light special heavy, maybe light special heavy, or something along those lines. I'm not sure how I'd play that actually. That's a use case I haven't actually examined that much because I just found my adapter not too long ago. There's also modern interpretations of the GameCube controller, and what I mean by that is there's new PCBs to be put into these things called PCBs that change different aspects of the way the GameCube controller works, like the fob. I don't fully understand what the fob is because I haven't researched it in a long time. I did look into it when I was playing more Slippy and like kind of just looking at like, oh, I want a modded controller, because they're just modded GameCube controllers are beautiful and they're works of art, and the people that mod them are fantastic. But like fobs and like the new like hitbox versions of GameCube controllers, those are very extra and more for people that would definitely be using them for like competitive gameplay. And not to say that you can't get one if you're casual, but you should definitely know that like, hey, this is a premium controller, and you should stick with the game that you're playing with it. Other than that, I think that's basically the use cases are pretty self-explanatory with something like that's first party like this, with the first party stuff, the first party consoles, sorry. And using an adapter with this thing is not too difficult. With Switch, it's plug and play. With PC, you just use Zadig and update the drivers. And yeah, I mean, what else is there to say? Do I like it? I love it. It's a fantastic controller. The thing feels amazing. It plays amazing. I'll probably try to include some gameplay with this thing just because it's like, man, I love it. Would I recommend it? Yes. If you can find one at a reasonable price, which I'd say maybe, man, I don't want to give any like financial advice, but if you can find one that's not too worn, you can actually see the pictures of it, like, you know, it's actually the Nintendo branded one, Like, don't go for anything like Mad Cats or anything from that era. Definitely not. Yeah, I guess Nintendo does have the GameCube controllers from the, was it the Wii era or Wii U era? They're like Smash Brothers branded ones. Those are good too. But yeah, I would definitely recommend it. This thing's amazing. It is still holding up even into 2025, and it's been around for, when did the GameCube come out? I don't know. A long time. Let's just say like 25 years. Probably not that long, but a couple of years here or there. Thank you so much. This is Noah from Button Presser Reviews, and I'll see you guys in the next one.